If you're looking to learn more about chord playing or get some ideas for different ways that we can use them, I've got 4 patterns to show you and some really nice chords to try them out on. Each one's going to teach you something a bit different. They're the kinds of techniques you'll hear around, so they're good to have in your vocabulary of things that you can play and you know are going to sound great. You'll hear each one with a melody first to give it some context. These are the kinds of patterns really designed to be played alongside someone singing or someone playing a melody. And once you know them, you can use them on all different kinds of chord progressions. So the first chord is just a C major chord. And in our left hand, we're going to use octaves to play all these chords. So we're going to play the root note C, and then we're going to use the next C above it. But if you can't hold that and reach that, we're going to use the pedal anyway. So you can let go and reach up to the next one. We're going to play the C major chord like this. That is a second inversion position. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. There are some other videos linked below where you can learn about inversion positions. Okay, so in this position with each hand, we're going to break up the notes like this. The bit to watch out for is at the end when you play the single note and you have to hit that note again in the chord. Sometimes people keep their weight dug into that note and things get awkward. So you want to make sure that you lift your wrist up, releasing the note, releasing your weight, and then you can come back down smoothly, keeping your wrist nice and relaxed. Let's just think about that rhythm a little more so we know exactly when to place each note. We have 4 beats in a bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can call those quarter notes or crotchets. We can split each of those beats into 2 equal segments, which would give us 1/8 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now, if we split each beat into 4 equal segments, that gives us 16th notes. And the way that we would say that is 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So that means that this pattern works like this. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and So this chord only uses beats 1 and 2. The next chord is going to start on beat 3. This is our position. This is actually an E minor 7 chord. This is a regular E minor, and then we're just using the note D on top of it as well. There's a video on 7th chords too, link below if you want to learn more. Okay, so when we break up the notes in the same way on this chord, we're just going to start from beat 3 instead. 3 E and 4 E and it's exactly the same. We're just counting 3, 4 instead of 1, 2. 3 E and 4 E and Then for the third chord, we're going to play this. This chord is an F major 7. You'll notice how from the previous chord, all the notes just moved up 1 white key. So there's a regular F major chord and we're using the note E on top with that. And again, we're going to play the same pattern. This time we're back on beat 1. So we're going to count 1 E and 2 E and And for the final chord in this chord progression, we're going to slightly change the pattern. The rhythm's still exactly the same. Let me show you what I mean. So the chord we're going to use is an F minor chord. So if you imagine F minor, that's F, A flat and C. Okay, we're going to have 2 Fs in our left hand, but we're going to use the note D on top with this F minor chord, which gives us a really nice sound. That's actually called an F minor 6 chord. But the way we're going to play this pattern is we're just going to use the notes A flat and D in our right hand to start with. And then we're going to climb up with the C and hit those two again at the end, the A flat and the D. So it's almost the same pattern, it's just very slightly different. When you're changing to that chord from the previous chord, which was here, you want to make sure that you really lift up your hand and move it forward so you can land comfortably on that position without everything feeling awkward. And again, when you move back to go to the first chord position again from that one. So what does that sound like all together? Let me play it slowly with the count first so you can hear. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and An example of a song that uses that kind of pattern for at least part of the chord progression is Rocket Man. Pattern number 2 sounds like this. This one has 3 chord positions. The first one is a C major chord. So I've just got a regular C major in my right hand and then just the C and G in my left hand. That's the root and the fifth of the chord. Then the second chord, in my left hand I'm just going to move the C down to B. So now I've got B and G. And in my right hand I'm going to play a G major first inversion shape. Altogether, this chord is actually called a G over B because B is the low note. And then the third position is this. So in my left hand, I've just moved the low note down again from B to A. So now I've got A and G. And that third chord position in my right hand, we're going to play just a regular A minor shape. And altogether, that chord is actually an A minor 7 because our thumb in our left hand has got the G as well, which is the 7. So the first chord, we're going to play 1 and 2 and. Nice and simple. So together and right. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So that's what comes next on the second chord. 3 and. Notice how that's kind of short and sharp, the first one, 3 and then it's held on the second one. That helps create the groove as well. Now the third chord position, we're going to come in on an and. We're going to stab that chord on an and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's the and of 4, the and that comes after beat 4. Do that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So before you do the end bit, I would recommend practicing up until that point until you get that. For the last part, we're going to use a 16th note again, but we're going to learn this bit by itself and then stitch it together with the first bit. We're going to count number 1, but we're not actually going to play anything on that beat 1. We're going to start playing in our left thumb on the and after 1. And then we're going to go back and forth. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that last note is just going to be the note D, just to add a little bit of melody, just to make this chord pattern a bit distinct. And it's going to alternate. D the first time round, B the second time round, D the third time round, B the fourth time round, and so on. So where I said 3 and 4 and, it feels like a hiccup, doesn't it, almost? That's where we're going to use that 16th note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 like that. Now you've got to try and stitch that together. So the bit to watch out for is once you've landed on this chord, on that and before the one, then you've got to wait for that beat one to go by and then start playing the back and forth pattern on the and after the one. You've got to feel that one, but don't actually play anything on it. So altogether, it should be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and 1. It's really important to practice stuff like this with a metronome to work on your rhythm and timing. You can get free metronome apps on your phone. It's well worth doing. But you can also get a metronome like this one, which is a smartwatch metronome. This one actually vibrates on your wrist so you can feel the pulse that you're playing to. Syncs to an app as well. There's loads of cool features. You've got loads of control with it over the sounds, time signatures. There's loads of things you can do. This is called a Soundbrenner Core. If you want to check it out, there's a link for it below. And you can get a discount with that link. A 25% discount until the end of January. I've pinned a discount code and the link in the comments. For pattern 3, we're going to keep a constant rhythm going in the right hand, and then we're going to create the groove by playing in between that with the left hand bass notes. And this is a really common piano technique. It's a good one to practice. We're going to try this one out on some really nice, slightly jazzy, a bit neo-soul sounding chords. Once you get the pattern on the first chord, you can do the same thing on any other chord. We're going to use a C major 7 chord, which is this. I'm using octaves in the left hand to make it sound bigger, but you can just do this with the low note if you like. Then in the right hand, we have the notes B, E, and G from the C major 7 chord. All the right hand does is play a constant pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So these are quite short, stabby notes you're playing. This is all in the wrists. Keep your wrists relaxed. Think of it like you're playing a drum. Boom, 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 boom. The rhythm with the left hand, in this example, actually has a shuffle to it, what we might call a triplet feel. Counting without a shuffle sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. But with a shuffle, sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So what's actually happening here is when you play the eighth notes without a shuffle, they are exactly halfway between each beat, which gives us that even sound. But when we play them with a shuffle, instead, they're actually 2/3 of the way across, so they're closer to the next beat, which gives us that shuffly sound. And the reason we call that a triplet feel is because it comes from dividing the beat into 3 equal segments, but just using these ones here. Now that we know that, we can play the pattern. We're going to start with hands together on beat 1, and then we've just got to think about where to place the left hand notes in between. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4. I'll do that again. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4. Again, just practice that pattern on one chord before trying to change chords. Now let me show you the other chords that I used. The second chord was this. That's a G minor 7, a G minor with the note F on top. Then an F major 7, an F major with the E on top. And this last one's a little bit more unusual. That doesn't make it any harder to play though, really. This is a D diminished over A flat. Don't worry if that sounds confusing at the minute. This lesson is about the rhythm side of things today. But really quickly, it's a D diminished chord with the A flat note from the chord as the low note. So that pattern on every chord would sound like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1. One tiny thing I'm doing there to make the rhythm feel a bit nicer is I'm holding the very last chord a little bit longer before the chord changes. We're just going to hold a bit longer, and you can use the pedal to sweeten that as you move. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1. Like that. So similar techniques like this of hitting chords and playing bass notes in between were used on Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. I've even heard Tim Minchin use it when he's playing the music from the Matilda musical. The last pattern is a fun one to learn. It's just going to use major chords this time, and it's kind of Rolling Stones inspired. Let me know in the comments if you know which song this one sounds a lot like. This one uses 16th notes again, but first I recommend just trying to get the flow of it, the sound of it in your head. Here's the pattern on the first chord, which is E major. That's together, right, left, right, right, left, right. So you want to get the sound of it in your head. I would start maybe with the right hand stabs. Think about where they are. And then think about how the left hand and the right hand interact, but how they sound together. Think of it as one thing. So now you've got dum, dum, da dum, dum, da dum, 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 da dum, dum, da dum. If you can just vocalize that first, dum, dum, da dum, dum, da dum, dum, it's going to make it much easier to play. We could count that like this to make sure we're placing everything in the right spot. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. E and 1. Okay, so the next chord was a D major. Everything has just shifted down. See that? And we do the same pattern on that chord. And then the third chord was an A major. And we're going to play this one in first inversion in the right hand, nice close movement from the D. And the fourth chord just goes back to the E. And at the very end, because it's going to loop back round to playing the E to start the cycle of chords again, on the very last hit, we can change the E major chord to E and A, so it's like a sus4 sound, just to add a little bit of movement between the chords to take us back. And then the cycle starts again, so that's E, D, A, E, and then we start again by playing another E. If playing and changing chords ever feels difficult for you, I recommend watching these videos next. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Thanks for watching.